green. Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. Ready? This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
It is a Football Friday here on Birds 365. Thanks for streaming on in with your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. We've got you covered for the next 2 hours with a good Football Friday show. It is our penultimate Football Friday show before the season gets underway.
Penultimate. I like it, Jody. Like it.
Yes, we like it because that means the season's getting close. First thing first, our condolences to our good buddy Mike Gill. His Mountaineers went down last night with a lead 7.5 minutes ago. Ball at midfield. Supposed to win that game. Couldn't get a first down. Watched the opposition go the length of the field, and then a picked off pass late in the game by Daniels leads to a victory. Sorry about that, Mountaineer fans. Love rubbing salt in the wound.
Well, my issue with that game, and unfortunately I didn't get to see it, but it should be played every year, college football people, who's ever in charge. That's a perfect example of the mess they've made and all the conference changes and all the things. And you lose those great rivalries. And how soon is Keydon Slovis back in the first round of the draft, Jody?
Yeah,
how quickly?
Yeah. I'm probably too much of a geek when it comes to judging college players for the NFL and a quarterback more than any other position. I didn't think Keydon Slovis could play when people were talking about him being a first-round draft pick. And I thought it was stone cold nuts. And, yeah, he's kind of proven that out to be just one man's opinion. Bigger game, Pitt, West Virginia, Pitt, Penn State.
Well, I think for here it would be Pitt, Penn State. I think in Pittsburgh, I think it would be Pitt, West Virginia.
Really? Over Penn State?
Yeah. But, you know, I'm not in Pittsburgh 365 days. I get the feeling from talking to people I do know out there that that's the bigger rivalry, of the bigger hatred. They're both big.
Okay. All right.
It's sort of like, you know, you can have more than one rival. But, you know, now, what's that? The first game in 12 years? The backyard brawl. So maybe it's changed, but I get the sense that from the locals out there, there's more visceral dislike for West Virginia.
Yeah, maybe you know more Pittsburgh people than I do, but I would think of Penn State as the Dallas Cowboys to the Philadelphia Eagles of Penn State rivalry, the in-state thing.
Yeah.
Even though geographically,
maybe back in Joe Pa days, maybe you're right. Maybe you know, I don't. Things have changed, so. But it could be.
You got to go. Like you just said, you got to go back 10 years to the last time either one of them, any of them played.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's it. That's the biggest shame. It'd be nice to have them both. How's that? It'd be nice to have them both.
But you got to play. Oh, and the Big Ten's only getting bigger, so there are going to be less chances for Penn State to play non-conference games against rivals anywhere else. So not going to happen. But our condolences to our good friend Mike Gill, who watched his Mountaineers go down in flames last night. All right, J-Mac, you sent me a text earlier in the day. I'm glad to hear that Howie Roseman is listening to Birds 365. I happened to mention on yesterday's show that the 49ers had released Trey Sermon, a running back who I liked a lot coming out of Ohio State, was a third-round draft pick. I thought he was at least a second, if not a bottom of the first-round draft pick. Couldn't believe he dropped as much as he did. He had one mediocre year for the 49ers last year, but they had a stacked backfield that he wasn't able to get a ton of quality time. But when he did, he was okay. He put up okay numbers this year for the 49ers, and they got in a bit of a roster crunch, so they had to put him out there on waivers, and the Eagles were smart enough in position to be able to snack him up. So we've been wondering, would the Eagles really go into the season with only 4 running backs on their active roster for the first game? We now know the answer to that question is no, because Trey Sermon's going to be part of the mix. When they get him up to speed, because it's going to take some time. You and I yesterday here said we both love the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson acquisition, but you've got less than 2 weeks to get him up to speed. Well, Trey Sermon won't be asked to do as much as a rotational back, but can I get him up to speed in 9 days?
Well, if you can get a defensive back up to speed, you should be able to get a running back up to speed. So, I mean, it would be an easier position to plug and play, at least in theory. But I think that different. I think the Eagles need C.J. Johnson. He's expected to be a starter. I think that's more of the reason why he's going to be on the field week 1. And Nick basically confirmed that when I asked him yesterday. Oh, he's going to be out there, as we both assumed. The question is not that he's going to be out there. The question is he going to be ready to be out there? In the case of Trey, I mean, he's a backup, and so I don't think there's any concern about getting him ready for week 1. And Miles Sanders was out there, so everybody could breathe a sigh of relief. How many times I get that question over the past 2 weeks? Precaution, 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 precaution. He was back at practice yesterday, looked completely fine, dancing with Jalen Hurts. So he's ready to go. Yeah, they don't need Trey Sermon right away. They need C.J. Johnson right away.
Right, different comparison. One's going to be asked to do a lot week 1. The other one, and probably unless there's an injury, going to be asked to do very little in week number 1. And although he's a big back, and if Eagle fans don't remember seeing him play either last year for the 49ers or for Ohio State or for Oklahoma, because he's one of those transferring types. And
he played with Kennedy Brooks in Oklahoma and Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, too. Yeah, former teammate of Jalen Hurts. He's got size. They list him at only 215. He seemed bigger than that to me when I saw him in uniform last with the 49ers, because when you and I, as assistant general managers, and all our fans on the stream who like to believe that we can outguess Howie Roseman and or Nick Sirianni on how a player is going to be used, I wouldn't call him a power back. That he's got the size. You would think that he could be a power back because he runs with his pads low enough and he's got good beef attached to him, but that wasn't his game that I saw on a collegiate level, or the few carries that I saw with him for San Francisco. But I believe that if they told, that's what they work with him on, that's what we want you to do. We want you to move the pile, run between the tackles. I think he can do it. Is that the role you see him in with the Eagles, as a power back guy, John? Or is he going to be given a chance, if he can perform the same way a Boston Scott can, to actually move into the number 2 running back slot?
I think he's going to be given an opportunity to move into that number 2 running back spot, and then it'll be up to him. As far as I haven't seen it up him. I don't know his style of running probably as well as you do. He does have more size than the Eagles running back, but that doesn't mean, we were talking about Jamal Singleton about this when he talked to us in training camp. Doesn't mean you run like a big guy or vice versa, because he was talking about Boston Scott, who had tremendous success at the goal line last year, just sort of had a knack for it. So there's a couple things. So he's not Jordan Howard type big, but he's bigger than what the Eagles have. he's got some talent. I think it's worthy of a dart throw. He was a 3rd-round pick. Now, I am concerned why the heck he's out there 1 year after he was a 3rd-round pick. Read some stuff from John Lynch yesterday, and Kyle Shanahan talked to some people, texted some people in San Francisco, and he lost out to an undrafted rookie. So that's, kind of a concern. But I also know, Colin, you saw it with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. Like, he'll sour on a player. And I think that's what happened here quickly. And hopefully the Eagles will be able to tap into some untapped potential. But they were looking about trading for him, turns out. Probably a 7th-round pick, I would imagine. But Howie, kind of rolled the dice and thought he wouldn't have to because he saw the landscape. He saw they weren't going to keep 5 running backs. They originally kept 5 running backs. And sure enough, they claimed offensive lineman, and they put him on waivers, and the Eagles were able to get him. So calculated gamble, again, working out for the Eagles. By the way, they also got Davion Taylor back, so another calculated gamble works out. So Howie's really good at that stuff. Worthy of a dart throw is how I would describe it.
Agreed on all fronts, and how he has this offseason played the roster game. That's been all of what these last 4 days are about. It's on the general manager and his staff to calculate who you want to cut. You got someone on the fence. Can we let him go? Can we get him back to the practice squad? Can we wait on a guy that he's going to get cut like a Sermon? How he's pushed all the right buttons. You got to give him a ton of credit for that. Quick aside before we jump back into the Eagles. Kyle Shanahan souring on somebody. Then why the hell is Jimmy Garoppolo back with the 49ers? If he quote-unquote soured on him, why did they do the deal that they did, that they felt they just had to get something for him and nobody was offering nothing? As much as any other roster move during the last couple of weeks, what surprised me most is Garoppolo back to the 49ers. I just didn't think that was doable. Is that a general manager, big foot in the coach thing?
No, I think it's Jimmy accepting his lot. Remember the contract, they weren't going to pay him his contract as a backup quarterback. The surprising part of the whole thing was when they were looking to trade him, you saw a couple times Kyle kind of throw him under the bus. And, he's not going to be here and all that, which doesn't make any sense. And then so from that standpoint, you say, well, why would Jimmy want to come back when the head coach is throwing him under the bus? So you have that part of it. You have the part that obviously he doesn't want to take a pay cut unless he has to, which ultimately he had to. And then from the 49ers perspective, I think it was, and to their credit, he's a bad starting quarterback, but he's a really, really good backup quarterback. So, things shift. And if you can repair that relationship, and who knows if it's repaired completely, but he's a really, really good backup quarterback. So it completely shifts the mentality, and they don't have a proven starter. So it's good to have a good backup when you don't have a proven starter. I'm just surprised the way Kyle, and I like Kyle. We've been doing this show long enough, but I like Kyle as a schematic guy. Some of the other parts of the job, managing personalities, things like that, he's not as good at. He's a young guy, but he's sort of got that old school mentality. Obviously, his father was in the league forever. He's been around the league forever. He's got that gruff personality. Now that Mike Zimmer's gone, he's probably the gruffest head coach, willing to say, this guy's this. And he did the same thing with Trey Sermon. Same exact thing. He wasn't ready to play last year when he got an opportunity. And there's a third. That's the 88th pick in the draft. Gone next year.
1 year.
Now, you see that in certain cities where there's been a change in regime, new head coach, new GM. They'll cut a guy. You don't often see the 88th pick in the draft going in year 2. So he's he overreacts to certain things. And when you get in his doghouse, you're in his doghouse. Hopefully Nick Sirianni connection, all that, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully he connects with this kid because he's got talent, and maybe it works out for the Eagles.
And you mentioned the Eagles were also able to get Davion Taylor back onto the practice squad. If they had lost them, it would have a comparable year, couple more years on the actual roster. But third round pick by the boards, certainly before his rookie contract runs out, is looked at as, ooh, maybe that wasn't the best of picks. But at least they've got him back onto the practice squad. And he was a weird guy, John, because I trust you with this because you're down there at practice every single day. You were singing his praises pretty good at the beginning of summer, that Manny looked good in camp, and noting that he got runs with the ones before Nakobe Dean did, that they were bringing Dean along slowly because he was a rookie. And apparently, supposedly, Taylor's experience was elevating him. And then they played in the preseason games, and he just was not good, and that's why he was released.
And that's why I said yesterday on the show, Jody, that to the Eagles, the preseason games only matter if you play poorly. Because they don't care if you play well. All the splash plays, Devin Allen, Jason Huntley, they don't care. But if you show up and play poorly, like Davion Taylor did, then it hurts you. It hurts you dramatically. Yeah, it was pretty significant drop-off. And don't take my word for it. There were a bunch of other reporters there as well saying, Davion looked great those first 2 weeks, those first 10 days maybe. Great. We were like, wow, look at this guy. And then the game started and just 180.
Yeah.
But
you got to be able to make plays with pads on. That's kind of a key in the National Football League. It's great when
they got him back, and hopefully, you never know. They might need him. They can
continue to coach him up. All right. And one other big happenstance yesterday at practice, Andre Dillard going to be out for a period of time, non-displaced fractured arm. They're definitely going to put him on the IR. But the early reports were not season ending, maybe somewhere around mid-season, a 6-8 week injury. Somebody's got to replace him on the active roster. What way are they going, Johnny Mac? Who's stepping in for your boy Dillard as the main backup at left tackle?
I would think it's got to be LaRaven Clark. They got him back on the practice squad. Veteran guy, has played the position quite a bit. When Andre was down with a concussion, Jordan was down with a concussion at the exact same time in camp. They tried Josh Sills at left tackle. I think that's one of the reasons he's on this team, because he put his head down, he worked hard, he persevered, but it wasn't great. Coyote Awasika's on the practice squad. He played left tackle in college, but the Eagles have pretty much, and he played left tackle when those guys were out, but they mainly cross-trained him at guard. They think he's a better inside player. Then you have Driscoll, but he's never played left tackle. He's only played right tackle. I think you got to go LaRaven Clark. And that's a big drop-off. That's what we're saying with Andre Dillard. It's nice to have that insurance policy, but now it's gone. So hopefully Jordan Mailata stays healthy.
Let me ask you about one other name, because I was interested to see if you'd put him into the mix. Sills made this roster. It's kind of a surprise to Jody McDonald.
Yeah, I said
John
Sills.
McMullen. Did you say Sills?
Yeah, Sills moved there. I said that's one of the reasons he made this team, because
you said it previously, but you didn't say it today. I asked you to run down.
No, I just said it 2 minutes ago. I said he was the first name I mentioned, Jody.
No,
Josh
the first
Sills.
name you mentioned was the LaRaven Clark.
No. Tone, be our referee. Well, it might have been, I mentioned Sills moved to left tackle when John mentioned Sills. There's Tone. He moved to left tackle when they both had concussions, Dillard and Mailata. And that's one of the reasons he made the team. He persevered. And I think Jeff Stoutland had tremendous respect for that. But he didn't play well at left tackle. He's not a left tackle. So I don't think that's the way they're going to go. But that's one of the reasons why Josh Sills made
Sills made the team because you said he's more of a, I remember you saying previously on previous shows, more of a guard tackle rather than a guard center, because they don't need the other center because they got Kelsey and they got Beef Jerky. So that made a lot of sense to me as to why they would keep Sills, but that they really have enough faith to put Sills at tackle is the question I'm asking you.
I do not think so. Not in a real game at this stage. And that's why, if I'm a betting man, I'm going LaRaven Clark. They kept him on the practice squad for a reason. They didn't have to bring him back. They were able to get him back as a veteran player. He's a natural left tackle. Not a great natural left tackle, but he's a natural left tackle.
He is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We are your Mac and Mac guys. So the Eagles get another back to add to their stable and get the active running back number to 4. I think it kind of needed to be at 4, so good job out of Howie Roseman. But they've got to do some juggling in the reserves on the offensive line with the Dillard injury. That's the updated news from Eagle Camp. But we also want to look at the big picture because we are now just 9 days away from getting this season underway. Here to lend a helping hand with that coming up in just a couple of minutes is our pal, Joe Santoliquito from Bleeding Green Nation, writes for us here at JAKIB Sports.com as well, and also some Bleeding Green Nation mixed in there. Have laptop will travel. We're glad he's traveling with us today. Joe Santoliquito up next here on Birds 365.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Is an icon.
A Philadelphia treasure.
He's a mentor, a pace setter.
Jim is my North Star.
He's trusted, revered,
Appreciated.
He is Action News.
He's compassionate, honest,
and fair. He is extremely dedicated, motivated, and always seeking the truth.
He's also funny. We are a team of many.
Jim Gardner is our leader, and we're lucky to have him.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Football Friday here on Birds 365. You got Mac, McMullen, and McDonald hanging with you. Joining us, if he's done reading, is our buddy from Bleeding Green Nation. He does contributions for PhillyVoice.com and us at JAKIBSports.com. Joe Santoliquito. What kind of shirt you got on there? What's that shirt say?
My Maxwell Club shirt.
Who? What?
Maxwell Club. All right.
Maxwell Club. Oh, very
nice.
Cool. I thought it looked kind of like a game warden shirt that you're going.
By the way, I got to apologize to Joe. I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you. It's been a rough week. I haven't turned on the television this week, so I'm behind in my return phone calls. So
that's no problem. That's no problem.
I apologize, Joe. Public apology.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well,
that's the best way to do it.
Publicly, we will thank you for coming on with us today. We believe the roster is pretty close to set. No, we still got 9 games to go. How good a job did Howie Roseman do putting this roster together this year, Joe?
He did a very good job. He filled in a lot of blanks. He also corrected a lot of the mistakes that he made.
Yeah, do us a favor, bud. We can just about hear you.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. So, like I said, I think he did a very good job, and he corrected a lot of mistakes that he made. What kind of gets me, you guys both know this, is I mean, Howie's like he's like a head coach in a sense that he gets blamed more than he should probably get blamed, and he gets lavished praise when some of that praise is also not deserved, only in a sense that again, he's the one that drafted Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, people forget that.
Overdrafted Jalen Reagor.
Yeah,
and he overdrafted Arcega-Whiteside. He overdrafted these guys, and again, like I said, lavishing this praise on him on getting rid of these guys. Well, first off, it's not Reagor's fault or Whiteside's fault that they were overdrafted. It's Howie Roseman's fault that he overvalued them, and he placed the Eagles in a situation that he fixed, as he has done constantly throughout his career. I will say this, and this might be cringeworthy for both you guys, but if he wins another Super Bowl, are we talking Hall of Fame for Howie on what he's done and how he's constructed this team and reconstructed this team at a very difficult time?
Boy, you're going. I get in trouble for saying Howie's the top 5 GM. You're going to get a lot of crap for saying Hall of Fame GM, Joe.
Well, if he wins another Super Bowl, another Super Bowl,
I'll get you out of the hole you may be digging for yourself, Joe. How many GMs are in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, there's not a lot. Now
you have to be the creme de la creme de la creme de la creme. Another Super Bowl is not putting Howie in that.
Now they're changing it a little bit. They're being more liberal with it now, moving forward. So maybe it is a bigger conversation down the road. Contributors are being more valued, and there's an easier path for them to get in now. So maybe it changes for all the good GMs. Yeah, it's an interesting question if you get to. I mean, people look at it with quarterbacks. I mean, I don't think Eli Manning's even remotely near being a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's going to get in. Yeah, I guarantee it. He's going to get in.
You know, you look at a quarterback like I'll tell you what. You look at Joe Namath's numbers, and they're deplorable. They're deplorable. But I know he changed the game. He changed the style of the game. He brought the game. But he's makes you cringe. And I grew up as a kid, but you know, Joe Namath, number 12.
You're good. Well, I don't. We're going down a wormhole, but I love history, so I think Joe Namath is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Numbers wise, to me, like you can't gauge numbers of Joe Namath's era versus numbers today. I remember when Joe Montana retired. I tell Jody this all the time. 92.3. I had it committed to memory. You know, his passer rating was so unbelievable at its time. This is Joe Montana now, you know, one of the greatest 5 quarterbacks of all time, even if you want to be harsh with his career. 92.3. Today, I think there were 14 or 15 quarterbacks last year that were above 92.3. So it's a completely different game. Guys like Ken Stabler. Look at Ken Stabler's numbers. That guy's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. It was a different game, different era. Those guys took a pounding. I do think they were Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but when you win Super Bowls, it greases the skids. So if Howie wins a second, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I think he's already. And by the way, Howie's, I don't know if I can advertise it, so I can't say that yet. But Howie's done a tremendous job of winning trades. So from a valuation standpoint, Joe, he always wins the trade. But I got into this with Sixers fans with Sam Hinkie. Ultimately, it comes down to evaluating players. So you use the term overdraft. I don't necessarily like that term. He misevaluated on Jalen Reagor. He misevaluated on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Isn't that the more important part of all of this? Because he's going to win trades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is. And I did a little thing here. Let me take a look. I did a little research here on, try to look it up here. I'm talking to you guys. Let's take a look here. I broke down the NFC East. And I broke down the percentage of drafted players on the Eagles as opposed to the Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants. I have to get used to saying Commanders. And I believe
we all do. I still say Commodores more than Commanders.
The Cowboys have more drafted players. 37% of the players drafted or on their team. The Eagles are second. And this is based on, again, strictly based on the 53 that were taken, by the on the cuts
on the initial 53.
On the initial 53 that was released on Tuesday. So take a look here. I have it here. Here we go. Eagles currently have 30 drafted of the 52, which is 57%. Dallas has 37 of their 53 drafted, which is 69%. Followed by the Giants with 54%, and then Washington at 52%. So apparently he's doing a pretty decent job that he has 57% of the roster that are drafted players, that were players selected by the talent evaluators of the Eagles and by Harry Roseman. So that says something.
Yeah, I don't think it says much. I think it says, tell me who put together the bet roster. I don't care if it was trades or like if Trey Sermon yesterday, he picked him up, he comes in, he helps him win this year. He's a non-drafted player. Do we give him give Howie less credit for that because you didn't call his name out on draft day? No, I give him as much, if not more, credit for being able to pick off somebody else's roster. So I think that's a loaded stat. All right, let's get back to this year's 2022 Eagles team. Jonathan Gannon under a little bit of a Klieg light this year. Everyone says he's been given more weapons. They've upgraded the defensive talent. He needs to be better than he was last year. Well, by the way, he was pretty good. If you're going to ratchet up the expectations on him this year, how high or high? What is Gannon going to have to be able to do to win over Eagle Nation?
I think create turnovers. I think putting on more pressure. We saw here with various, certainly elite quarterbacks, the high number of success they had. I believe, was it against elite quarterbacks? I think it might have been 37 incompletions against top-level quarterbacks that the Eagles faced last year. So he has more, certainly, again, like you said, Jody, to deal with. And you would like to think there's going to be, with that, more confidence to turn around and maybe every once in a while tighten the screws and maybe apply some pressure, as opposed to this stand back and what do they call it, sticks defense right now. He certainly has the linebackers to do it with. They have depth on the defensive line, and now with the addition of Gardner Johnson, they certainly have stability at the safety position. So the pieces are certainly there, which again places the onus on Mr. Gannon to turn around and see what he can do with these pieces. I think he played to his talent of what was available to him last year. And again, John, you're down there pretty often. I don't know what he's tinkering with, but I understand there's been some tinkering. He's giving different looks, different fronts. People, I think, are still calling it, John, you and I have had a private discussion about this, a 5-2 look, which is really a 3-5 look.
Well, yeah, my pet peeve is 3-4 versus 4-3, which is kind of antiquated. I can't even stand the Eagles put out their depth chart, the unofficial depth chart, and they put Hassan Reddick under linebacker. It drives me crazy because it doesn't educate fans properly to how these guys are playing. So anyway, but that's one of my pet peeves. There are multiple fronts, as most teams are. I've been saying it forever, and you're going to see they run Vic Fangio's defense or an offshoot of Vic Fangio's scheme, as about 50% of this league does, including Detroit. So it'll be Vic Fangio versus Vic Fangio on week 1. And there's a lot of 5-2 looks. So if you look at it, there's going to be 5 people on the front on the line of scrimmage. They call it overhang players. You're going to have the 2 off-ball linebackers, TJ Edwards, Kaiser White. That's their base defense. And then most teams are in nickel anyway, right? So you're in nickel 65% of the time. So that's the more important defense. And when they're in nickel, they're typically, not always, but typically in a 4-man front. So 4-3 versus 3-4, it's like banging your head against the wall. It's like, who cares? Who cares at this stage? But old tropes die hard. You know that, Joe.
That's going to be interesting to see, again, what he does with this talent. There's a lot to do with it, and I don't think we've seen any part of what he really is going to do with it. Everything's been over the season. They're certainly not going to show different things. I'm surprised. Avion Taylor. Now they cut him, and now he's back.
He's back on the practice squad. Yeah. Okay. So that was a bit of a calculated gamble, but they were able to get him back. So
the talented guy, but I'll tell you what, the O-late tackle in Cleveland, he just like let him go down the sideline, doesn't exactly help, and shows me that there's still parts of the game that he needs to learn.
Yeah, he's still a raw player. That's fair to say. And he's taken a step back, I think. And that's the thing. You got to be consistent. But the Eagles, I think the expectations are tremendously high for this team. And I think there's the obvious paths that it can go wrong, which would be injury and the quarterback. So I'm going to take those 2 off the table for you, Joe. If this team underachieves, is there any part besides those obvious hurdles? Jalen Hurts has got to carry his water. You got to stay healthy. Everybody's got to stay healthy in the NFL. And the Eagles already lost Andre Dillard for what's going to be at least a while. Any other parts of this team concern you as we head towards week 1?
Crazy it may sound.
Joe, do us a favor. You gotta either speak more directly into the mic or pull your mic, because we're missing about every second or third word.
Got you guys. I'm sorry about that. Special teams right now.
That's a good one.
Yeah. The questions at punter. And again, do they have a certainty at punt returner?
I don't even know who's going to return punts in Detroit week 1. The roster's filled because they picked up Trey Sermon. I don't think Trey Sermon can return punts, but I don't know that for a fact. So you would have to cut somebody to bring up Britton Cubby. I don't know who's going to return punts in Detroit. Maybe Reno Mahe.
Let me ask both you guys. If they have to cut somebody, who do you think they're going to cut? Because I know who I'm opting for. They make the decision the punt returner, the kick returner is not on this team, that they need Covey, that he has to come up. He has to join the roster, which, oh, by the way, they only have 4 wide receivers. Not that I think Covey is going to get all that many calls to fill in. I think he's going to be pretty much solely a returner, maybe a couple of plays on 4 wide receiver sets. But who do you think they would take off the 53 to make room for a returner?
Maybe Wallace. Kayvon Wallace.
I think they need Wallace for week 1 because you don't know what CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mean, they're going to throw him out there, but who knows how much of the defense he knows. I would lean towards more of our guy, Josh Navy Sills. That's the nickname Jordan Mailata gave him. So he's getting nicknames, but you don't need 10 offensive linemen, or perhaps Kyron Johnson. Deep, you're not going down to your third overhang player. So I would think if they're going to make a move, it would have to be with those players. But, Andre's got to go on IR too. My assumption is LaRaven Clark is coming up. If they want to roll the dice and say, hey, Jack Driscoll's going to be the swing tackle, they could go about it that way and just use that spot as well.
I apologize. I'm just kind of waking up, literally. Wait, what happened to Big Andre?
He fractured, non-displaced fracture of his forearm in practice yesterday.
He's definitely going on IR, but probably not season ending. So yeah, they're going to have to make a move there. And John's right. They could go with one less offensive lineman. I'll tell you who it is. So I'll ask you, John, because you were down there yesterday. Were you buying what Nick Sirianni was selling on Ian Book?
Ian Book? No, but I don't like the
Nor
player.
was I. I thought that he was just given the company line yesterday. We know that he's on record as saying, I can get by with two quarterbacks. I don't need a third. That to me smelled of an organizational decision. Can Nick win that argument and go, listen, I told you we don't need a third quarterback, and nobody's going to claim we can get booked through to the practice squad.
Yeah. I mean, the part about Tommy Rees was real because they're really close. I knew that before. Tommy was who's the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame, used to be the quarterback at Notre Dame, for those who remember. He was Nick's assistant with the Chargers at one point before he went back to Notre Dame. So those two are really close. That part of it was real. And obviously Tommy Rees talked up the Ian Book. But I just don't see the high level traits in Ian Book. I mean, he was a great college player, but he's short. He's 6 foot, doesn't have a strong arm. I just don't see it. And I agree with you, Jody. They could probably get him through waivers. But for what, Howie's in charge, man.
And he wants this is Howie's 53-man roster, not Nick Sirianni.
It is, of course, I got to remind you guys, it is, of course, a quarterback factory.
Yeah. We lost you again, Joe. What did you say there?
I said it is, of course, a quarterback factory.
It is. Oh. And he likes that. And he's got Reeds in it too, as well. So they do have you got to restock the shelves of the quarterback factory. You always got to do that. But I like your special teams question. Not only the returners, as you mentioned, Aaron Cepas, the kick coverage was bad last year. It was all bad except Jake Elliott.
Is it a matter of him being, if I heard this correctly, a directional kicker? He's not very good at directional kicking.
Well, last year, I think it was, I think people forget Aaron was pretty good at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. I think their hope is he just wasn't used to kicking that much. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's like a pitcher on a pitch count, and maybe he hit the wall and he had nothing left late in the season. And they managed it better. I think that's the plan. I think that's the hope. I see Jody. You don't agree, but yeah, I'm just telling you.
Here's my debate with that. If they got him on a pitch count, wouldn't you bring in another punter for the summer to also get some punting
Fair
work
point.
in if you were trying to claw back how much work you're going to ask Sippers to do? No, he made every single punt all year.
Yeah,
He's the
fair
only guy on
point.
the entire roster.
Well, by pitch count, I meant, when you get to 100 in the game and now it's, sound the alarm bells. Oh, he can't possibly go to 101. So more of stretching out to make sure he can throw 130 instead of 100 would be.
Well, then that's let me put this both to you two guys. How much of this falls on Michael Clay? He's a special teams coach. That's one of the things he's supposed to do. Oh, by the way, he's got a kicking assistant, Coach Brown, to be able to help him out.
Yeah.
Did they not
Marlton's
prepare
own.
Sippers for an NFL season last year?
That just it seems like a blind spot. I mean, he paid attention to everything else. He takes of that. Again, we hear others saying dead arm in baseball. Something is a dead leg. I mean, did he suffer from a dead leg? Through half of last season. So, like everything about what Howie's done, I've said it on your air. I mean, I think they're going to make a serious run. Talking to some gambling folks that I know, they're still. It amazes me they're still not convinced that these guys. They're still on the fence for 9.5 wins.
Wow.
I think it's a gimme right now. I think they have a chance to steamroll over a lot of these teams. The interesting part of the season, obviously, is going to be late in the year. They have that 3-game stretch. I believe they're all three of those games are away. But the pieces now seem to all fit. I just have one question here. Where's Jordan Howard? And why haven't the Eagles come back?
They're not bringing him back, Joe. They're not bringing him back. They want to get younger. They want to get healthier. He's banged up a lot. They got Trey Sermon. They got the kid from the Jets, LaMichael P. Ryan. Is that how you pronounce it, Jody? So they want to, and they think that they can pretty much put anybody with competency back there behind that offensive line and get the same kind of effectiveness. We'll see if they're right, but I understand why they want to get younger and a healthier body, because Jordan was banged up a lot, and he's got nerve issues, so it's probably going to happen again. So I get why they're trying to turn that page. And remember, nobody else assigned Jordan Howard either. So there's some
when he was in, it was pretty productive.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I think is baffling. But now when you pull back the curtain, that's understandable. Like, good guy, good. When he's able to perform, but again, the greatest ability is availability. And
Joe, last one for me. It's kind of a prediction one, not overall, not the Eagles, not 9.5, because it sounds like we all think they're getting double-digit wins, so 9.5 should be easy. No, individual player. Yesterday, Fletcher Cox was named captain, one of the captains of the defense, and he certainly has earned that with the amount of time that he's put in, the career that he's had with the Eagles. But I'm wondering about 2022. Kind of weird way the Eagles handled him this offseason. Cut him, took the big dead cap hit, then immediately re-signed him, and for $14 million. If you do that, usually like Jimmy Garoppolo, they redid his contract. Guess what? He's accepted being a backup. You get it. That's salary cap motivated, and the player and the team agreed to it. Fletcher's still making like top dollar money, but they released him to be able to take that cap hit. I just didn't understand the whole way that went down. But they did it based on what they think Fletcher Cox is going to be able to deliver for him this year. What kind of year is Fletcher Cox going to have?
He's going to have a better year. And Jody forgot the fact that they drafted his replacement and Davis. So they not only they cut him, they reward him with the contract, but then they replace. They turn around, they trade the very guy that's going to replace him. But I think what Fletcher showed was. He's taken Jordan Davis under his wing, which some of us, including myself, doubted he would do, kind of having an inkling of Fletcher Cox. I think making him captain shows a little bit more on his plate, invests more in his team. I think it shows, it also shows gratitude. I mean, this guy was a key member of that 2017 Super Bowl team. Telling him in a sense, hey, he's been somewhat vocal. Maybe this shows their confidence in him being even more vocal in that locker room. I have suffered from a bias that would have went with Brandon Graham myself.
Brandon's captain too.
Yeah, Brandon got two. They got two. Both of them got captain.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now with that rotation up front, with Fletcher Cox, with fewer snaps, I'd like to think he's going to be that much more productive.
He's going to be a key guy in that defensive line, that's for sure. Joe, as always, a pleasure, buddy. We get John during the season. Thanks much for hopping in today.
Gotcha. Sorry about the audio, guys. I'm shot from just waking up. So listen, you guys have a good holiday.
Next time we'll get you up earlier. We'll make sure your microphone.
We gotta get
all right, guys. You have a good holiday.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Joe Santoliquito. Yeah, that's. Sorry about that. You could only hear part of what Joe had to say. Did sound like he just rolled out of bed and threw on his Maxwell shirt right before it hopped aboard. But we got to get him up and ready earlier the next time we get Santoliquito on, because we like having him on because he's got strong opinions, like Howie Roseman to the Hall of Fame. Whoa. Talk about putting the cart before the horse. That was a bit.
That's
much.
A little bit early, but he did say if he wins another Super Bowl, so I'll give him that. Two. All
right. Well, I'll ask you off the top of your head because I don't know the answer. How many general managers are in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, not a lot. I'd have to look it up. But it is.
You stated it correctly that they are putting more contributors in over the last couple of years. So whatever the percentage chance of getting in was, it is increased.
Yes.
It's still minimal. It's increasing from like 2% to 6%. It's still 6%. It's not a whole hell of a lot. So no, I think that's, you want to say, if Howie Roseman wins 3 more Super Bowls, then we've got a conversation. I don't know that just 2 Super Bowls is going to get anybody in on the general manager side. There just aren't as many guys. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We are the Mac and Mac guys. Come back. More Eagles stuff to get to. About 25 minutes from now, we'll have our second guest, Chris Landry, who has been on the show before. We'll double check his microphone to make sure it's good and he's ready to rock and roll when he joins us. Former NFL coach, former NFL scout, now a football analyst, and his website, LandryFootball.com, is a must-use for you football fans out there. So Chris Landry coming back next. All right, when we return, I do want to ask John a little bit more about, we haven't talked about the quarterback much these days. He was named the captain as well. Talk about the captaincy. Bunch of stuff to get into with the Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Plan your day with confidence.
Definitely want to keep the umbrellas on hand.
And keep your family safe with Action News and AccuWeather.
Numerous tornadoes.
Well over 7 inches of rain.
Your go-to team when severe weather strikes.
The water is still rising right now.
Keeping you prepared wherever you watch. On TV, on 6abc.com, and on our streaming apps.
And that's when we go severe weather mode and on the air for you.
Action News and AccuWeather, the team you trust.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
You got your Mac guys here on Birds 365, McMullen and McDonald. Still got an hour and change to play to get today. Coming up in less than 25 minutes from now, Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com, former NFL coach, scout, done a lot of things inside the league and is one of the better film breakdown guys that we get on. He's always got good opinions on what guys can and can't get done when they get on the field. So, Johnny Mac, I want to pick up with you with what the Eagles can and can't get done on special teams.
Hey, real quick, before we get into that, Jody, I just want to Bill Polian, Ron Wolf, Jerry Jones is in, but not for that reason.
Although he is the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
You know it, I know it, and Jerry will let anybody who wants to ask know it.
That's why I say his name, but he's in it for different reasons. Bobby Beathard, and then Gil Brandt, if you want to consider him as well.
So, discounting Jerry, that's 4?
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Okay. Howie Roseman's going to be the 5th? No, there'd be a guy or two.
There's a backlog. There's a backlog you got to get through.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
And for some reason, they didn't update their site. I don't remember. I don't think anybody was in the past couple of years, but
no, I think
those are the 4 I know.
I think Vermeil was the only quote unquote contributor who got in this year.
Yeah,
as a coach.
4.
Yeah, I'm not ready to elevate Howie.
There's a bit of a backlog, Jody. Bit of a backlog.
Yeah, a couple of guys who have accomplished a little bit more than Howie who haven't gotten in yet. And you and I are Howie fans because it's funny. Anytime you say anything that isn't the most uber positive about a guy, oh, you hate him. No, neither one of us hate Howie. We both like Howie. We both think Howie's good. John's got him in the top 5 GMs in the NFL. I got him in the top 10. We like Howie. Just every once in a while, somebody jumps to a level that you got to say, whoa, I'm not going that far. Like I got a tweet last night, J-Mac, when I mentioned that some people had, in my opinion, overestimated the addition of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, if you listen to some people, it sounds like they added Brian Dawkins. Well, of course, there's a little hyperbole with that. So a guy hit me last night. Well, will you be eating crow on Birds 365 tomorrow? Because I've seen no one compare him to Brian Dawkins, Jody. What the hell are you talking about? A guy who I think you mentioned to me you want to try and get on the show. I don't remember having him on, but may have reached out to Ben Solak.
Yeah, Ben was on once, but
he was on once.
I want to get him on. Yeah.
Go back and check his Twitter. He had the Eagles winning the Super Bowl because of the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson pickup.
Yeah.
And he's a respected national writer who I think overstated the acquisition. So I didn't make this stuff up.
No. There were a lot of comparisons to Malcolm because of the the Saints thing.
Coming from
You know,
the Saints.
when Kayvon Wallace came in from Clemson, people made the Brian Dawkins comparison. It's just the natural way people lean. And because Malcolm's a former corner who came in from New Orleans, I don't know why people make these comparisons, but they do. It's bizarre to me. Like I said, he's an upgrade from an athleticism standpoint, from a trait standpoint. Hopefully it works out. But yeah, I mean, people are just over the top. A lot of people. We're not making this stuff up. It's a nice trade, but now, and I'm the one who asked Nick Sirianni that question, and I'm like, which one is it with this coaching staff? I bring up the 10 days, and Nick's like brushing it off. That's why we paid Jonathan Gannon a lot of money. That's why we paid Denard Wilson a lot of money. It's not going to be a problem. It's football IQ. And meanwhile, the guy who's played safety for 7 stinking years can't pick up the defense, and he's playing the same defense, only terminology differences. Which one is it? Come
little
on.
overstatement. And on the stream right now, here's a perfect example. Steven Jackson. Steven, how are you? Appreciate your streaming into the show. Said to me about me, nah, Jody, you're just always uber negative.
That's not true.
Always uber negative. Then a couple of people in between, he says, that's one person, Jody, meeting Ben Solak. You said people. You're in the word business. Well, if I'm in the word business, then Stephen, if you're going to comment here, I expect you to be in the word business as well. You just said, always go uber negative. One of these two hosts on this show has bet the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl this year. John, have you?
No.
You haven't?
No.
Oh,
No.
You know who that leaves? That would leave me. I've bet the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl this year. But somehow, in the estimation of Steven Jackson, I am, quote unquote, always uber negative. Well, then why the fuck would I bet the Eagles to win the Super Bowl? Really? Come on. See, that's what gets it just.
Yeah. I mean, look, I go through this every day. I with the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade, I said it was a good trade. And then I added in the context of why it's not the best trade in the history of the world. And some people are going to take that as negative. Some people are going to like it and enjoy the context. But look, there are bands that only want cheerleaders. And I say all the time, they're easy to find. Go find them. You're not going to get them here. We're going to tell you what we think about this football team, good, bad, indifferent. If I think something is bad, I'm going to tell you it's bad. If I think something is good, I'm going to tell you it's good. I just said Howie Roseman, top 5 GM. People kill me for that. I told people, I say it all the time. After Miles Sanders' rookie season, no, he's not a superstar. Now that the tide has turned, I said, what do I say about Miles? He's a good football player. It's not his fault. You guys overrated him. He's still a good football player. The expectations were just out of whack. Yeah, I mean, context is what it's about. Not everything is great all the time.
Right.
Not everything is perfect.
And I've been doing this for 30 plus years, so I get it. Taking phone calls, social media, you're on the stream. We can agree to disagree. Shoot, John and I don't agree a good percentage of the time, which is perfectly fine. Just don't make it personal. Yeah, I just made it personal with Steven Jackson because what he said was stupid. I'm not always uber negative. I'm negative from time to time, like John just explained. I don't think the Eagles get everything right. If they did, they would win Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. This side of Belichick up there in New England, nobody does that in the National Football League. Nobody wins every single year. So when the Eagles get something wrong, whether it's a Howie Roseman roster move, Nick Sirianni decision on a Sunday, play calling by the offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, mistakes by the players on the field, fumbles, interceptions, we're going to point them out. And that doesn't mean that we're haters. We're not haters. Neither one of us is haters. But to use John's analogy, neither one of us is cheerleaders either. We're not here to wave the pom-poms for the Philadelphia Eagles. When they do things well, when we like what they've done, when we agree with the moves they've made, we're going to give them credit. We're not haters, but we're also not cheerleaders. So just, I apologize for that. That got on my nerves a little bit, the fact that people take what we say and they basically misquoted or misstated. John McMullen, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson move?
I'd give it a 7. I like the trade.
I'd go slightly. I'd probably say 7.5. Neither one of us is saying 10, but there are a percentage of the Eagle fans that think you have to go 10 on every single move that Howie Roseman and or the Eagles make. If that were the case, again, we'd be getting ready for the 9th consecutive Super Bowl the Eagles are going to win. And we know that's not the case.
Yeah. I'm with you. I get frustrated at times because, but to use the CJ trade as a perfect example, because that's the most recent one. I got killed a lot because I said, there's some issues here. I mean, and I've said it on the show numerous times already. 10 days to get ready. Nickel corner, moving the safeties, played 80 snaps at safety. I think that's valuable information. Can he change it? Can he turn into a really good player? Sure. But again, the Eagles, this is a projection. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. This is a projection by the Eagles. You know what was also a projection by the Eagles? J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor, players the fans don't like. And I also point out with Jalen Reagor, fans who say he doesn't try and I think that's wrong. I defend Jalen Reagor in that instance. Did he perform? No. It's fine to criticize his performance. Didn't live up to expectations. But the Eagles themselves, the Eagles drafted Jalen Reagor, right? Jalen Reagor didn't draft himself. They misevaluated. They got the projection wrong. They could get the projection wrong with CJ Gardner-Johnson. I got news for you. If he can't play safety, he can't play safety.
Right. It's all about positional change. I think he's a talented player, but is he going to fit in Gannon's system as a safety? That's what we got to see. Yet to see. All right. Back to returner. Again, with fear of being chastised for being too negative, I'm not excited about the Eagle return game right now. As the roster sits 9 days out, it's amazing that the loss of Jalen Reagor has actually lessened the returnability of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to believe that I'm saying that because Reagor wasn't all that good at it, but he did it. And they've got no one on the roster who has been a significant returner at any point in his NFL career. Are they being fair to Michael Clay right now? What do you think they're going to do? I get it. The kickoff return in the National Football League has become a much lessened of an importance because kickers just kick it out of the end zone more than anything else. But punt returns can still be pretty significant, and they don't have a punt returner on this roster right now. What is Michael Clay to do, Johnny Mac?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Have they been fair to him? Probably not from a returner standpoint. Kickoff return, as you mentioned, I don't care. I mean, they could put Kenny Gainwell back there. They could put Boston Scott back there. They could put Quez Watkins back there, who did it at the start of last season, was even worse than Jalen Reagor at it. But you're talking about 2 kickoff returns a game on average, literally. That's how many the Eagles returned, 34 last year. So they're just going to kneel down, take it at the 25, or, you get that occasional return. The punt return is a bigger issue, as you mentioned. And we'll see if they bring up Britton Covey. I don't even know if anybody can catch the football. Punt return's a little bit different than kickoff return, obviously. And you got some funky punters. That's what Bill Belichick has done for years. Always likes the left-footed punter because it comes off the foot differently. There's a different spin. And he'd get like 1-2 turnovers a year just from keeping a left-footed punter. It can be difficult. And there's no obvious choice on the current 53-man roster to be the punt returner. Kenny Gainwell started taking reps as the punt returner in practice towards the end of camp, and he did not look comfortable catching that football, Jody. Cubby can catch it. I don't know if he has any explosion. He was great in Utah at the college level. I haven't seen it here in practice or games, but I know he can catch it. Maybe it's as simple as just bringing him up before the game from the practice squad. Then they're going to be in that situation. Was it J.R. Reed years ago in Green Bay? Reno Mahe was the punt returner, and I wasn't here at the time. I heard a bunch of writers talking about it. I believe it was J.R. Reed. The Eagles went into a season. They cut Reno Mahe. They didn't have anybody to return punts. They threw him out there. He had a big muff, and Green Bay won the football game. They don't have a punt returner right now. So unless they bring Cubby up, it's going to be cross your fingers.
Let me throw one more name into the mix, and I don't know that he did any returning during the camp this year, and I can't say I remember him doing it, but I think I remember reading it. Zach Pascal, who we know the coach trusts, quote unquote, as a football player, quote unquote, he always does everything right. Catching the football on a punt would also be part of doing everything right. Is Pascal even in the mix for this as a potential returner?
If he is, he hasn't taken one rep.
Not one.
Not one. They rotate. They have quite a few guys taking punts throughout. Most of them are gone now. Catching the football in practice, not in games, but in practice. Zach did not get one rep as a punt returner in practice. Right. Now, it wasn't in Cleveland, so maybe I doubt they did. They didn't do it in Miami. So
they haven't done it up until that point. I doubt they did it. You're right. I just because I know the coach feels the way that he does about the player. And if you're going to use somebody, you're going to use a receiver, a running back, a D-back. You're not going to use a linebacker. Almost by press. When you have 0 punt return guys on the team, you have to eliminate guys. And you go, well, here's our 53-man roster. Who can we eliminate?
Yeah.
Zach would be one of the later eliminated guys for me. Just one.
And he has very sure hands from that perspective. So I'm just looking it up. He has returned 26 kicks in his career. He has never returned a punt.
Okay.
So
all right. So he's done kickoffs when he was in Indy.
Yeah.
Okay.
26, 14 as a rookie, 10 the next year, and then 1 and 1. So he has at least returned kickoffs. He has never returned a punt.
All right. Just trying to think outside the box a little bit here.
I think Slay could do it. If you want to think really outside the box.
Yeah, but see, here's and this is a question you always have to put in there. Can you afford? You were quoting the Reed former Eagles thing. I'll go even further back. Before I got to Philadelphia, which was 30 years ago, Jason Sehorn, defensive back, Giants, one of the best D-backs in the National Football League. They put him back there for, it was either a kickoff or punt with some kind of return. I don't remember. Broke his leg. And the Giants desperately needed him. He was their best defensive secondary guy, arguably their best defender on the entire team. and they lost him for an entire season because he got hurt. I even think it was a preseason game. If not, it was the first week of the season. It was very early in the season that he got hurt returning a kick, and he was done for the season and screwed up the entire Giant season because of it. Oh, no, I'm not risking Darius Slay. I am not putting him back there on a punt or a kick. His coverage skills far outweigh anything he can do in the return game. I'm not – what's the chance? We're talking about 1/10 of 1% that he actually gets – oh, no. And who are we talking about here? The Philadelphia, we're going to protect our guys so they don't get hurt Eagles. There's no way they're exposing him.
He might be the guy like Deshaun Jackson later in his career when he became a good receiver. When you need a home run, you might put somebody like that back there, but you're not going to do it consistently.
Right.
Ultimately, I think they just got to bring up Covey from the practice squad and just let him catch the football, basically.
All right, Johnny Mac, I don't think you and I have ever discussed this. I don't know why we didn't discuss it last year. If we did, I forgot. I apologize. The captaincy. Eagles yesterday named 7 captains, 3 on offense.
Because it doesn't matter. It's not hockey. We're not getting the C on the sweater. But go ahead. Sorry.
I agree with you that in hockey, the captaincy is more important. But do you think it means 0? Because a couple of guys spoke on it yesterday, and they didn't make it seem like, he's the captain, so what? How much gravitas does it have in the locker room?
Darius Slay was very well. The team votes on it, so I'm not saying it's meaningless from that perspective. It's their teammates voting them as captains,
right?
So yeah, it makes them feel good, but you say, what does it matter on a percent scale? 2%. It made Darius Slay happy. And he took it as a real honor, because he's kind of a jokester. So some people don't, take him seriously in that type of matter. You got to be a leader, but he's always joking around. So he's really excited that his teammates voted him a captain. The quarterback, here's the issue. Here's the 2%. If the quarterback doesn't get voted by his teammates as a captain, then you got an issue.
Right.
Then you got an issue. That's like draft day. Bo, whatever his name is.
Bo
Callahan, not getting invited to somebody's birthday, whatever the crap that awful script was. Doesn't get invited to a party. Or nobody went to his birthday party.
Yes, I was going to say, shame on you, John. You don't know the storyline.
No.
Nobody went to Bo's party.
There we go. Nobody went to his birthday party. That's the giveaway. If they don't vote you as a captain, rookies are a little bit different. They might not vote a rookie, so throw that out. But if you're a veteran, and Jalen's a veteran now, even though it's only, and he was a captain last year, and he's a natural leader. You don't even worry about that.
That's why
I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts. I'm saying other teams. If you have a veteran quarterback that isn't voted captain, you got issues.
Understood. And there was never a question like that for the Eagles this year. Jalen Hurts was going to be one of the captains. Kelsey was going to be one of the captains. Lane was going to be one of the captains. I didn't know that Fletcher was guaranteed to be a captain. That's why I asked Joe Santoliquito the question about Fletcher earlier. For me, he's a move the needle guy this year. They bring in Jordan Davis, which means he's going to play less snaps than he usually does. And that can go one of two ways. Either his production can go down because he's on the field less, or his production could go up because he's on the field less, because he's got some downtime so he can catch his breath on the sideline, come in revitalized after sitting out for a play. I don't know how it's going to go for Fletcher this way. It could really go either way. He could be better playing less, or he could be lesser playing less. It'd be a key guy as to an Eagle player to keep an eye on this year. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Coming up next, we're going to get our bud Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com, former NFL scout, former NFL coach. He's going to hop aboard with us here on Birds 365.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Jim Gardner is an icon.
A Philadelphia treasure.
He's a mentor, a pace setter.
Jim is my North Star.
He's trusted, revered.
Appreciated.
He is Action News.
He's compassionate.
Honest.
And fair. He is extremely dedicated, motivated, and always seeking the truth.
He's also funny.
We are a team of many.
Jim Gardner is our leader, and we're lucky to have him.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
We're just 9 days away from the start of the season. Actually, we're less than that. We're 6 days away. We're going to go with the Thursday night showdown between the Rams and the Bills. Here to talk all things NFL with us with an Eagles slant. Always brings great perspective as a former league executive. Guy worked in the league for years. His Landry football website is as good as good to find. Talking about the National Football League. Chris Landry joins us here on Birds 365. Been a good couple of weeks, Chris. How'd your summer go?
Fast. It went pretty fast. It always does. As I'm getting older, the time's moving faster, and I almost think, yeah, I'm ready for it, but I'm not really ready. I'd like to have a little bit more preparation time, but it's always a great time of year to kick off the football season, and got the college season week 1 this week, and then obviously the NFL starting next, as you mentioned, Thursday and next weekend. Going to be an interesting year, as it always is.
Always is, Chris, and we'll start it in Philadelphia because that's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of 53 man over your time. You look at this Eagles group they put together. What do you think the ceiling is for this team?
Well,
Are they a legitimate contender?
Well, I think it's a nice roster. I think it's the thing that jumps out at me. It's got pretty good depth on it. I like some of the versatility and some of the depth. The ceiling, don't know. I still think that if I look at the division, we'll start there because that's where it all starts. I think they're deeper than any team in the division, and I would probably make them the favorite because what's difficult is you don't know how the season's going to play out with injuries, and I don't really trust Dallas, and I don't think the Giants in Washington are good enough. But beyond the division, I don't know how good this team can be. It really is going to come down to the quarterback and how good he can be. I think that, if it was a great team, which this team is not, then, he could be solid, play good ball, and, we'll see where it goes. I see there's some playmakers. I see there's some capabilities, but it really is going to go to the way to the quarterback. and that'll determine the ceiling. I would say they're a team that's got a good chance to win the division. Again, forecasting games, that are going to take place in December, January is tough. But I would say that they'd probably be one of those teams, anybody that wins this division, probably not somebody that's going to advance deep, although I will say the NFC is a little bit more wide open. I think the AFC's it's got better teams in it. So, I don't know that I like anybody in the East to really challenge as the best team in the NFC. That's the way I see it now. I'll see going forward, if that changes, of course.
That's exactly where I was going next. I think the NFC, in comparison to the AFC, is left wanting, that it just pales in comparison. Who are the teams in the NFC that you say, well, the Eagles got a chance to win the division, but not go deep in the playoffs? Who are those NFC teams that you are suggesting have the kind of rosters, have the kind of depth, have the kind of talent that can go deep in the playoffs and end up in the Super Bowl out of the NFC?
Well, I would look at, say, like, for example, in the West, I think the Rams have a better quarterback. I think the Niners have a better roster. I trust them a little bit more right now than I would the Eagles, although, again, things can change. In the North, I think Green Bay's kind of in that mold of it's Aaron Rodgers, and, would I trust, them over the Eagles in a game? Yeah, I would, but I don't think the Packers roster is good enough to go that far anyway. I think the South is interesting to me. It really depends upon the health of the offensive line for the Bucs. They're good enough to be really competitive, and the Saints have a really good roster. The quarterback situation's a little bit of a concern, but if I were going to take the comparison, I think the Saints roster is better. They've got better pass rushers. So I would, again, in an NFC that I'm not really excited about jumping on the table for anybody, I still wouldn't put the Eagles as the 2 or 3 of the teams right now that I think, they're as good as those teams. I think they're below them right now.
You bring up the Saints in that roster, Chris. So I want you to put your coaching hat on now more than your executive hat. In this, that the Eagles were able to get a member of that talented Saints secondary, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, with essentially 10 days before the start of the season. He's played mostly slot corner, nickel back. The Eagles want to make him a safety. The Eagles want him out there week 1. How difficult is it to get somebody in a new scheme, new building, new position, ready to go in 10 days in a modern NFL?
Well, it's challenging, but it's what you got to do. What you've got to do is utilize him and what he does well. He does a really good job in the slot. He's got versatility. So I think you don't have to, there's not a simple way of, well, this is what we're going to do, and then it's, turn on the switch. It's going to be a gradual process, but I think there's some similarities, I think, in how they're going to play him relative to what he's done in the past. So I think the transition will be fairly smooth, but I don't expect him to have his best games immediately. Good player. Like him a lot. From a roster standpoint, just from the Saints viewpoint, why would they move on from him? Because they've got depth, and they may end up regretting it. But I think, he wanted to get a longer term deal and wanted to get a deal, and so that wasn't going well. So I think they felt like, well, we'll get anything for him now because we're going to lose him in a year. Well, they may or may not regret not having him this year. Now, for the Eagles, I think he's a good player, but now, they've got to think, if they get him, then it's probably going to cost them more than they think right now to get a deal done with them, or else it could be a short-term deal with the Eagles. So I think it's a lot of, what does it mean to the team now? It really helps the Eagles. It doesn't hurt the Saints a great deal, although it could if they start to have guys drop in the secondary.
All right. I want to ask you about one of those teams you threw into the mix NFC potential to go with distance squads, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. My partner is a bigger Shanahan fan than I am. I think he's a good coach. John thinks he might be the best coach in the NFC. I think he's actually put himself in a precarious position this year with the way he's handled the whole quarterback situation. I get they want to move on to Trey Lance. That's their call. They use the number 3 pick in the draft. You got to give him a shot at some time. You want to do it cut and dry and move on, go for it. But then to bring Garoppolo back, a guy who's taken you to a Super Bowl, a guy who's taken you to a championship game just the year before, if Trey Lance has a bad game, all of a sudden it's going to bubble. You're a guy who's been around football teams before. I've followed him from outside looking in, but you don't think there's a chance for a split in that locker room? The first time Trey Lance goes 12 of 26 for 186 yards and a pick and no touchdowns? You don't think that could be something that blows up in the 49ers' face this year?
Well, I think that's why they did it, Jody. So here's the situation that's a little different. And I don't think it's cookie cutter. This is a good roster. It's a good team. And it's not without their question marks. They're really good. And so they're not like a team that's trying to build towards the future that is, not good enough this year. They're good enough to compete and win that division. Whether they will or not, I don't know. We'll see. So the whole situation comes down to this. And I think they obviously moved up to draft Trey Lance for a reason. They like him. They think he's the future. Time will tell on that. I think with Garoppolo, the plan was to trade him. Probably due a large part due to the injury. They couldn't get trade value for him. So as this has gone on through the process, they said, look, here's some of the things. And his agent knows that. Garoppolo's agent knows that. There's not a big market for him right now. So why don't we do this? Let's restructure a deal. Who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. If you come in, Trey Lance could play poorly, Jody. He could get injured the first play of the game. True. You got Garoppolo, and you still got a contender. It's not a disaster. And if you play well and you're have a great year, look at this. You can earn all your money back. It's incentive-laden. But here's the other thing, too. We'll still look for a trade partner for you because somebody's quarterback that's a contender might go down the next 4 weeks. The trade is still in play if they have. So to me, it's just not if people say, well, you got to trade them. We can't just trade them. You got to have somebody that wants them. You got to get something of value. So what this does, in my view, it gives the Niners flexibility. It gives the Niners a guy they can turn to that they've won with, that let's call it like it is. They think he's got a ceiling that's, limited, pretty low, that they'd like better. But is Trey Lance ready now? I mean, it gives them insurance. And look, you can lose the locker room for a lot of things. I don't think they will. I think there are a lot of people that kind of like Jimmy G that think he's pretty good. And, I think people see what Lance can do. Can he run the offense well enough? Look, I think they teach the running game as good as anybody in football.
Anybody.
This is This is a running team that's going to be able to marginalize the quarterback as much as you possibly can. You can't hide the quarterback, but you can run it. You can work those in cuts, easy routes. So whether it's Lance who's trying to learn or whether it's Jimmy G who's got some limitations, you've got two now. And then if you get something of value, because again, if somebody goes down with an injury, they need a quarterback in the worst way. In their contender, they would get more than what they're able to get now. So I think it gives them a lot of flexibility, and I think they do a really good job. I think that roster is really good. So that's kind of how I see it. I don't know how it's going to play out. They don't know how it's going to play out because it's not just as simple as, look, if Trey Lance is the starter and he becomes great this year, which I don't expect that, but if he clearly is the guy, Well, they've got a veteran backup for a team that's a contender. What if Lance goes down and misses 4 weeks? You've got a guy you can turn to. You're a contender. You stay in the mix. So you've got that. If Lance is not ready and, he struggles and you got to put Jimmy G in, well, the rosters, the locker room is going to want, hey, look, we're a good team and he's not ready. Then you put the veteran in, you go with him. And then, you know what you've got with Garoppolo and you know what you don't have. So I think it's unfair. There's some people that think that it was smart for a contending team like the Niners to hold on to Garoppolo. A lot of people said, why would you trade? Well, if you got something of value, you probably make the move. And, I don't think it's your obligation as an organization to do right by the player. I think you do right by the team. Yep. But I think that they were trying to look and say, look, here's our guy. I think it's risky to say it's Trey Lance and we're not looking back and Jimmy G's gone. We're going to dump him for anything. I don't think that's a real prudent move. Personally, I think keeping him makes sense, provided they're able to do it. It did not make sense in my mind to have him on the previous contract on the opening day roster where you guarantee almost $28 million. Yeah. That's where, to me, the Niners, I think they did the perfect thing for them, and we'll see where it plays out. But they can go in either direction now.
You piqued my interest with the 49ers, Chris, because I love their running game. I love the schemes. I love the talent that Kyle is able to put together. So you, as a talent evaluator, and this is where I'll put the Philadelphia tint on there. When they give up on Trey Sermon, a 3rd-round pick in 2021, what does that tell you? In that running system with that success, is that raise a red flag to you?
Here's what it tells me, and here's what I think you got to know about that. That I do not in any way want to minimize the running backs that have been in that system, but that is a running back friendly offense. What it means is they'll just replace him with another young guy that they feel is as good or better, and they will do that consistently. If you look at them, the names change, but the production is still pretty good. I don't think he's a great back. I think he's a good back. I think he's versatile. I think he can really help you in spots, but I think that the running back position for them is very fungible. I mean, they can move around that. So what it tells me is they're comfortable with what they have, and we'll just, we're going to move on because we know second contracts for running backs are not going to be likely for the Niners.
But they only got 1 year out of them, Chris.
I know.
That is the concerning part for me. I agree with you. With the second contract.
I'm going to tell you, they like their other backs better. Okay? They like their other backs better. But it's fungible, meaning they can't just put anybody there. That's not it. But they, more than most, don't need that feature. This is not the Titans, and we got to just do whatever we do to get Derrick Henry. They can put a lot of guys in there. What it tells you as an Eagle fan is, look, they liked him, and he had a good camp. They like the other guys better. And they feel the future might be better with them, with these other guys. Now, it doesn't mean they're right. So what does it mean for the Eagles is they've got a back that's got some versatility. He's pretty good. He's not going to light it up, but I think he can be successful. That's what you got. I mean, I wouldn't overthink it. It's, this is not like, oh, there's anything sinister. He doesn't work hard. There's a problem or anything. I don't sense that at all. They said he had a really good camp. They said he played very well. They just like the other guys better.
Chris, let me ask you about one of the other teams in the NFC the Eagles will probably have to deal with if they make the playoffs this year, and that's the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Is it a media creation? Is it a fan creation? Are we just looking at the results and judging it and giving it whatever weight we think it should? When statements like it's difficult to repeat are made. I know, I've said it. I base it basically on there aren't that many teams that get back to the Super Bowl, even though they were good enough to make it the year before. That's what we base predictions on going forward for the next year. Well, how good were they last year? How good a roster did they have? But is there something to the mental aspect of been there, done that, got it done, had to invest every single ounce of emotion and focus, whatever, to get a championship done? Is it harder the next year, or is that just something that a guy like me has made up?
No, it is harder. I mean, let's go back into what I call the old days. You guys can remember, and a lot of people in the audience will remember. Some may be a little young, but it was pretty common that Steelers were likely going to come back the next year. And, I mean, those days you return the same team, unless you had an aging team that – few guys that retired and you had to bring in young guys and there was a drop-off tape. But you pretty much you could look at it and say, those are the teams that are coming back. What happens now is the better you are, it depends upon how your roster's structured. You usually, and particularly if you're a team that's maybe signed guys to one-year deals that make an impact to you winning, maybe it's a good pass rusher, maybe they're gone. They leave for greener pastures because they get more money. They take advantage of, we won the Super Bowl. So you don't have the same team. You're not repeating. There's no such thing as repeating. I mean, there's no such thing as defending champion. You don't defend it. There is such thing as repeating. You don't defend anything. You won it last year and you start over this year. And Jody, you're right. It's the core of the team may stay, but what about some of the key components that are not there? I mean, are they going to miss a certain pass rusher? You got Aaron Donald. And so now the other thing is, think about this for a second. We don't think about it enough. The regular season ends. Okay, you're right around the, holiday time, right around the first of the year. Season's over for teams that don't make the playoffs. The teams that go into the playoffs, that advance all the way to the Super Bowl, they're practicing and prepping the entire month of January, an entire month. Now, I know we don't put the pads on in scrimmage like we used to, but the off season is shorter.
Right.
So what happens if you're really good over time and you go deep, then you're over 3 years, you've played almost an extra season when you throw it on top of that because you're practicing your preparation. So you combine the fact that you've got a shorter offseason, body recovery. You tend to see more injuries in the year after that because maybe your body is not as prepared. The other thing is we just talked about guys leaving. And then you do have the little bit of okay, we got there, we won it. Is the motivation just the same? You want to think it is. Everybody says it is. But there is there's something to the fact that you may be really committed to winning it again, but somebody's trying to get that next step. So if you're the Chiefs who've won one a couple of years ago and you're kind of getting there, you're the Bills, or are they more motivated than the Bills, or the Bills got a little bit more of we want to get them back? And I think all of those things are in the mix, Jody and John, and have an effect on, repeating. It's difficult. There's no question about that. And people will gun for you. I mean, they're got the Bills. You think the Bills are, of course, the Bills and the Rams are going to be motivated to start off the season with a win, of course, but everybody's going to be looking at that as a litmus test. We beat the Rams. We beat the team that won it last year. It is a little bit, more of you're a target than as opposed to can you work your way and win it. I think that's a big factor.
Want to get your thoughts on those Buffalo Bills, the varsity, the AFC side of the bracket, Chris. I think Buffalo is settled in as sort of the favorite. We'll see if they recover. That was a devastating loss, by the way. We'll see if they recover from that. The AFC West looks loaded as a whole. The Miami Dolphins, I got to see a lot of talent on that team. I don't know if Jody's a big Tua fan. Give us your thoughts on the AFC and maybe the favorites and some teams that could surprise.
I was doing a show a little bit earlier, and I thought about something, and it came up, and it's an example of as we go into the league and we're looking at 17 games, and the importance of them and everything. That was a difficult loss for Buffalo. You know what comes to my mind, though, is how they lost to Jacksonville and how that game probably cost them home field advantage. Would it have been different? I don't know. The result might have been the same, but it's little things like that. So for Buffalo, I think their roster is as good as anybody in the league. I think the quarterback's outstanding, took a big leap last year, like this team, at all aspects. They've got to make sure that they finish. They lost a game to Pittsburgh that's probably, that's a game it looked like they were better, but you have to be better. It doesn't matter if you're better. You have to be the better team that week. You got to prepare. There's a consistency, because I think it's important to get home field event. Doesn't guarantee you anything. It just puts you in better position. So that's the thing with Buffalo. Can the intangibles and the finish is going to be key. The division is going to be fun. I am curious about Miami. How much better can they be? They're explosive. Can they take that step? Everybody's writing off New England. I think Miami's more explosive. New England's pretty good defensively. The preseason is a disaster. Everybody's burying them. I wouldn't be quick to do that, but I'm very curious to see how that plays out. And so I think the Jets are getting better. I still think that maybe New England and Miami are a little better. So that the East is going to be fun. Are going to be fun. I really am looking forward to it. To see how dominant can they be? Can they be a team in that division that just controls it early? I mean, I think they'll win it. But, again, I think home field advantage, best record in the AFC is kind of it's the second goal. Winning your division is the first goal. But the process of that is, I don't know. I was thinking about that earlier is, can you sweep that division? Go 5-1. 5-1 will probably be good enough to put you in a position to win. Because here's the thing about it. If you're Buffalo, you're going to be really good. You need to win the best record in the AFC. You got Kansas City in a tougher division. Going 5-1 in the West of the AFC is really, really tough. 5-1 in the East, you probably need to do that if you're Buffalo. Now it's not, the out of conference schedule. So I think that to me is what I'm looking at, and I'm looking at how much better can Miami could be, and then will New England slip or just be steady as she goes and not good enough? I think that's going to be fun to watch in that division.
Chris, last one for me, and I usually try and keep a close eye on this. Maybe the answer is there isn't going to be one. There always seems to be something that pops up in the preseason that the NFL tells us to keep our eye out for, that they're going to call differently coming into the year, that the referees have been instructed to call differently, to emphasize, that's the word they use, put an emphasis on. And then they do it in the preseason. Everybody goes, no, wait, that wasn't a penalty in years gone by. And then they, as the season goes on, they trim back on what they were calling in preseason. I don't remember any of that this year. And I am too big a football geek to not watch preseason. Yeah, I do watch preseason. Makes me a football nerd. Fine. Did I miss it? Is there anything that's going to be affected early in the season? The referees are going to call differently that people are going to be screaming at their TV about?
No, it's really more of what they have emphasized in the past and how they're going to, what the college they call targeting, but leading with the head. Here's one thing, though, that jumps to my mind that they didn't say this, but I'm thinking that this is going to be brought up. And it's always reactionary, I know, but it is something that college has adopted that I think the NFL might, because everything is safety. The play in the Cincinnati game, basically, it's what's called the low block within the tackle box is allowable.
Thaddeus Moss, right?
Right. That is legal where it took place. It is not legal outside the tackle box. in college, it's illegal to do that, and I think that is something they'll look at. But I don't think it's going to be, to your point, be emphasized because it's the rule is the rule. What I'm saying is I think that's something they'll look at and say a lot of traffic there because everything they do is to safety, right? And I think that's something that they'll look at. That's the only thing that I see, but that's not going to be emphasized. I think that could be studied and looked at, and I don't know. They may, say no, we like it where it is. But I think this offseason they'll look at that.
Yeah, Thaddeus Moss. I think a lot of tight ends, Clay Harbor, the ex-Eagles tight end, said, "Hey, we're taught to do that. That wasn't a dirty play."
No, it wasn't dirty. It wasn't dirty. It was absolutely right. And that is, I think, my point, or maybe their point is, look, it's dangerous. It's let's take it out of if it's illegal at the other parts of the field, make it legal here, because then what it does, it's judgment. Now that was pretty easy, but you get a little bit in the tack about it. I just think that's something, my experience with them, that'll be something that they'll look at. I don't know what they'll decide, but I think they'll look at it.
Yeah.
Chris, great stuff. We appreciate it. Whenever you come on the board, you give us a different perspective. We like to get people from outside Philadelphia every once in a while to give us a different perspective. You always do. We're going to let them get a month or so under their belt, get the games played, everybody else get a feel for it. Then we want to get you back on again. We appreciate you jumping in with us today. Thank you much, sir.
Hey, thanks to you and all your listeners. Appreciate it. Let's do it again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
We will get you back up about a month from now. I always enjoy having Chris on. Check out his website, LandryFootball.com. His podcast, he gets guests on his show. We appreciate whenever he comes on. He does look at things a little differently. I like having guys on who've had in-league experience like Chris Landry has. All right, J-Mac, coming back. We still got to put a bow on the show here on Birds 365.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Is an icon.
A Philadelphia treasure.
He's a mentor,
A pace setter.
Jim is my North Star.
He's trusted.
revered.
Appreciated.
He is Action News.
He's compassionate. Honest.
And fair.
He is extremely dedicated,
Motivated.
and always seeking the truth.
He's also funny.
We are a team of many.
Jim Gardner is our leader, and we're lucky to have him.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
right, J-Mac, we only got a couple of minutes left. I got to stop reading the stream. I really do. I'm just going to make myself nuts. Someone earlier put in quotes, Jody McDonald said, Howie Roseman needs every move Howie Roseman makes is a 10 out of 10. No, I didn't say that. I said other people say that. I don't say that. John McMullen doesn't say that, but they put in quotes as if I actually said. No, I was quoting someone else when I said that.
Yeah, you got to stop. You got to stop.
Yeah,
I can't.
And it makes me nuts, and I apologize for it. But even that being said, in fear of, again, ticking off Eagle blinder guys who wear it every single day, I'm on record as saying opening week against Detroit, 9 days from now, the Eagles will win by double digits.
10 out of 10?
10 out of
10 out of 10.
That they'll win by multiple touchdowns, I'll go 8.5 out of 10. I think they're going to win by 14 or more, as a matter of fact. However, there is now one thing. You know, you get that nagging little feeling.
Yeah, it's the NFL, baby. You can talk yourself into anything in the NFL. Everybody's got good players.
Here's what scares me about that opening week game. The unstoppable Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, and we got one more, what's the HBO show again? Why can't I think of the name?
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks. We got one more Hard Knocks episode to go. And David Blau, the backup quarterback, is one of the guys that they...
David Blow. That's how you pronounce it.
You sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was Blau.
That's a rough life for David.
Yeah. If it were, I would change it, but that's just me. Chances are Nate doesn't see the field, and I don't even know that he's going to be active week one, but I just got this little, it's a crick in my neck. It's a thing. It's by maybe because I believe Jeff Lurie that he is the unstoppable Nate Sudfeld. If Nate Sudfeld, let me put it this way. If Nate Sudfeld is inactive for the game, Eagles win by 2 touchdowns.
No, he's going to be the backup, man. He's going to be, they cut
over
David.
Blow.
Yeah, they cut David Blow. David's on the Minnesota practice squad now. He's out of town. Nate Sudfeld's the backup. And he's going to be there.
That?
And by the way,
that blows.
Nate Sudfeld still holds the Eagles' completion percentage record. And that's why Jeffrey called him the unstoppable. Yeah, I think he completed 19 out of 22 or 23, but
for how many yards?
100, I think 105. No, I'm exaggerating, but yeah, 120 something.
I think it was less than that, John.
No, I think it was 120 something. Really? But I have to look it up. Yeah. Either way, not impressive. Unstoppable. Good guy though. Tremendous trash can basketball player. Tremendous.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Did not know that. But yeah, he does scare me a little bit if he gets into the game. We shall see. All right. We got all next week to prep for it, buddy. You got weekend off, back to practice?
No, I don't have weekend off. Well, yeah, the Eagles have the week.
Right,
Eagles
you don't
players
have to head across the bridge.
Yes.
Is the point.
Eagles players collectively bargained. They will be off, and then we're into game week, and we won't be here Monday on JAKIB Sports. So everybody enjoy their Labor Day.
Have a great Labor Day. We'll have 4 shows, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to get you prepped and ready for the victory over the Lions, which is now just 9 days away. How's that, Eagle fans? The always pessimistic.
10 out of 10. I'm only at 8.7.
10 out of 10. The Eagles
I'm 8.7 out of 10. So I'm the hater. I'm the hater.
All right. Johnny Mac, the hater. Jody Mac, the we're both haters, according to some. Thank you very much for streaming in with us today. We will be back on Tuesday next week. Happy Labor Day Monday, everybody. Coming up next, Rick Saratelli here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.